Have you ever felt the sudden chill of realizing you're not as safe as you thought you were? For a moment, imagine being in a locked room with the faint sound of footsteps approaching, or knowing there's someone watching you from the shadows. These three stories are not just eerie tales, they are real-life events that people lived through, moments when safety and reality blurred into sheer terror. Prepare yourself as we delve into these harrowing lockdown encounters. And remember, sometimes the scariest part of a story is knowing it could happen to anyone. The Basement Trap. It was my junior year of high school and I was 16 years old. Our school was massive, 3 floors filled with classrooms and hallways echoing with student chatter. But even with all that space, it still wasn't enough. So 2 additional classrooms were carved out of an old janitorial area in the basement. This part of the school was infamous among students. We called it the Chamber. The Chamber had its perks, air conditioning, easier classes, and even its own bathroom, but it also had a creepy vibe. No intercoms or loudspeakers, dim hallways, and an eerie silence when classes weren't in session. That day, after lunch, I headed to my astronomy class, located in one of the basement rooms. I finished a quiz early and texted my friend, JJ, who was in the other basement classroom. Bored and looking for a distraction, I convinced him to meet me in the bathroom. As we joked around, JJ's phone buzzed. He looked at me and said, "Someone just texted me, the school's on lockdown." We both grinned mischievously. We hadn't heard the announcement from the basement, and no one knew we were in the bathroom. This meant we could roam the school freely. Excited by the idea, we decided to sneak upstairs and explore. But the moment we cracked open the basement door, unease set in. The main floor was pitch black, save for faint light streaming in from the lobby doors. Something was off. The lights were supposed to stay on during lockdowns. JJ stepped further into the hallway, and that's when he froze. "Who's that?" he whispered. I followed his gaze and saw a figure emerging from the shadows. At first, we thought it might be a teacher, but as the man got closer, it became clear he wasn't staff. He looked like a drifter, disheveled, out of place, and menacing. "We need to go," I said, grabbing JJ's arm. We hurried back to the basement. The classrooms were dark and their doors were shut tight. Not wanting to draw attention, we darted into the bathroom and hid in the corner stall. The silence was deafening, just the sound of our breaths and the occasional drip of the faucet. Then the bathroom door creaked open. Light from the hallway spilled in briefly before the door closed, plunging the room back into darkness. Heavy footsteps echoed across the tile floor. Whoever it was, they were walking toward us. JJ whispered, "We need to crawl to the other stalls." His whisper, though faint, seemed deafening in the stillness. The footsteps stopped. The air grew heavy as we heard the person breathing, a labored, unsettling sound. Then came the thud of a hand pressing against our stall door. "Go!" I whispered, and we crawled as quietly as possible under the stall dividers. We moved 2 stalls over, but before we could make it to the bathroom door, the person began pounding on the stall we'd just left. As soon as we reached the door, we bolted for JJ's classroom. We pounded on the door, and the teacher let us in immediately. JJ explained in a frantic whisper that the man had a gun in his pocket. My heart raced as I realized how close we had come to danger. A loud bang on the door made everyone jump. The man was outside, staring through the small window and rattling the doorknob. After what felt like an eternity, he turned and disappeared down the hall. When the lockdown ended, the police escorted us out of the building. JJ and I described the man to them, but he was never caught. To this day, I'm convinced he intended to harm us,